Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Have Your Say video.
Please, just stop.
And this video is for All Stars 11 episode 3. So today we're going to be recapping the episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll where you voted on if you agreed with the outcome of the episode. And I'm talking about a little bit of recent drama to do with Tina Burner calling out Mistress Isabelle Brooke and exposing some off-camera behaviour that Mistress did on All Stars 10. And Onya Nurve breaks her silence on why she left Kinky Boots and the drama surrounding it. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Okay, let's start by recapping the episode. So this is the final episode of Bracket 1, and because the premiere was 2 episodes and now this is the 3rd, it does feel like this has just flown by. I do feel a bit bad for the queens in a way, because it's kind of more like they only really got 2 episodes in reality. So it feels over very quickly. I personally feel like maybe 4 episodes each bracket would be better, but what do I know?
Nothing.
So they start off by giving out the MVQ points, and in kind of a gaggy drama moment, a lot of the queens gave their points to A'keria, even though she was already in the top. So it ended up with A'keria having, let's have a look, 6 points. Dawn has 4, Lucky 2, Morgan 3, Morphine 2, Mystique 1. And it was quite gaggy because obviously normally you wouldn't push the front runner even further ahead. But I think most of the queens were saying because A'keria was just so helpful in the design challenge and was genuinely taking time to help the queens, that's why they did it. But it was a little bit of a gag, and as we know from my time in prison, I do love to gag. Okay, so let's move on to the main challenge for this week. So we find out it's kind of an acting / improv, but maybe more acting challenge for the Home Spooky Network. So basically they are spooky creatures selling spooky products on kind of like a home shopping QVC type thing. I actually don't mind these sorts of challenges. The only thing is it's definitely more, I would say, on the scripted side by the sound of it, and we all know my thoughts on scripted acting challenges.
They suck.
I think I would have preferred them to be more improv rather than acting, but again, what do I know?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, so let's go through the actual performances, and we'll go through them in order in which they appeared. The first pair was Dawn and Morphine, and we'll start with Dawn first. So Dawn was selling the Buzzkill body razor. I think this was, I've seen other people say this as well, but I feel like out of all the products, this was kind of one of the easier to sell, and you could kind of, as a werewolf, hair, trimmer, it kind of sells itself. But I thought Dawn did a great job. She definitely, to me, was the main character of this scene. I loved the bit where they had the before and after of like the werewolf and then the pit crew member. I thought that was quite funny. And the bit with the coconuts, because we all love a shaved coconut, don't we? But I loved Dawn. I thought she was very natural. She was very funny. So she made me want to say, yay! That was me howling like a werewolf. And in the Have Your Say poll, 68.6% said yay. So that's, I think, less than what I thought you were going to say. Then 26.9% for just okay, which is over a quarter, which I was a bit surprised about. And then 4.5% for nay. Then we have Morphine Love Dion, who was selling Hello Flesh because she was a zombie brains eating it. I will say I loved the Hello Flesh as a pun. Like, that is great. I love a good pun. That one did make me chuckle. I think Morphine did get overshadowed a bit by Dawn. Dawn did say at Roscoe's this week, by the way, go and watch my Roscoe's recap if you haven't. If you haven't, then you are a bad, bad girl. But Dawn said that she felt like Morphine actually did better than she did. They just edited it to not show it. I thought Morphine came across okay, but I do think Dawn did a better job overall. But I liked that Morphine was kind of really going for it, and she was committing to being like the ugly zombie with her hair falling out and all that kind of stuff. So I would probably give it a just okay bordering into a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, you were definitely more on the just okay side. 61.3% of you voted for that. And then between yay and nay, it was almost exactly split. Yay did come out just on top by 0.7%, 19.7 for yay, and then 19 for nay. So you were obviously very split after just okay. Okay, so the second pairing was Lucky and Mystique, and we'll start with Lucky first. So Lucky was, I guess, a vampire, and she was selling some kind of sort of supplement, which I guess was supposed to be blood. And actually, while we're on the topic of Lucky's outfit, my patron Lady Nidaria said, as a fan of Lucky's unique perspective and a huge fan of anything mushroom, I did not understand the choice to go fungi with big tits to be a vampire. I love the costume, but what are we doing? And this is because they asked later on Lucky on the main stage, why did you dress like that? And she was like, oh, I wanted to be like a fungi vampire. I also was a bit confused by that. I don't know if she just had the outfit and then decided to use it. Don't know. In general, I just don't think that this pairing worked. I think Lucky was giving too much and Mystique was not giving enough. I know they say the whole thing of improv is yes and, but I feel like in this group it was like yes and but no. And it was weird. It was not very good. Lucky seemed to be going off script a lot, which was throwing Mystique off, but Mystique was letting herself be thrown off. The only part of this skit that I thought was funny was when the caller said about the is it kosher?
Is it kosher?
Is it what?
Is it kosher?
Is it what?
Is it kosher?
Culture.
Kosher.
Kosher with a K, a kosher.
A kosher.
Is it kosher?
Who the hell's that?
Oh, girl, oh my Jesus.
That bit was so funny to me because she didn't know what kosher meant. But that was really the only bit I remember of this whole skit, to be honest. But it was funny, but unintentional. And it was just very chaotic. So unfortunately, I'd have to give this a nay. In the Have Your Say poll, predictably, 60% said nay, 31.5 for just okay, and then only 8.4 for yay. Then moving on to Mystique, and she was selling body bags. So I guess like Frankenstein's body bags, whatever. Again, I think this was just a weird pairing. That even before the challenge started, they were setting up in the workroom that Lucky was trying to do all this stuff and Mystique kept being like, no, don't do that. Don't get stuff on my white outfit. Don't do that. So they were clearly trying to have this narrative of almost like Lucky being the bouncy child wanting to do stuff and then Mystique being the adult saying no, no, no kind of thing. I just think that Lucky was equally guilty, I think, of trying to do too much and going a bit chaotic, but I think Mystique was not matching her energy in any way and was kind of letting herself be distracted and it got really awkward. So both of them, I think, deserve a nay. But I do think that Mystique at least kept it on track slightly more than Lucky did. In the Have Your Say poll, 53.8% said nay, predictably, 33.3% for just okay, so about a third, and then 12.9% for yay. And moving on to the final pair, we have A'keria and Morgan. Okay, so we'll start with A'keria first. So she was a mummy and she had the Rapture, which, by the way, great name, but it was like a wrap, like a long scarf wrap thing, I guess. Obviously, as a mummy, makes sense. I thought A'keria was really funny. I liked that she was definitely, out of all of the groups, this group definitely made the most use of the pit crew. I don't know if that was an option they had, but most of the others didn't really use the pit crew. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want to use the pit crew? But I do think they used it enough that it kind of brought a different energy to it. I think A'keria was really good. She was selling it a lot. I thought she was funny, likable. I would give it a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 70.3% voted yay, which is the most so far, I think. And I would agree. I actually thought it should be better than that. 27.4% for just okay, which again was maybe a bit more than I expected. I thought it would be more on the yay side than the just okay side. And then 2.3% for nay. And finally, we have Morgan, who I guess was a ghost who was selling sort of ghost-like makeup. I really liked Morgan. I think that this was definitely the most natural pairing, that both of them did well. They volleyed off each other really well. You can tell that they're close in real life and that they feel comfortable with each other. I do think A'keria was obviously probably a bigger personality than Morgan was, but Morgan knew which beats to hit and everything, so I still would give it a yay because she was selling, she was doing the gig, so I definitely would buy that if I was a ghost. In the Have Your Say poll, Morgan got slightly less than A'keria, but still yay came out by far on top with 68.6%. Then Just Okay got 27.1%, and then nay was 4.3%. Then I asked you, whose home spooky network performance gets the slay, i.e. the best, and you voted Dawn with 37.5%, then Morgan McMichaels with 28.7%, and then A'keria with 26.3%. I think I'd have to agree. Dawn did make me want to howl to the moon. I thought she was very good. She was really natural, funny. She sold the product well. I do think she had maybe the easier product to sell, but that was also because she did it well, so she definitely gets the slay. Okay, so let's move on to the runways for this week, and the category was Paris, France. Now, a little bit of fun fact, I did actually live in France for a year. I lived in Bordeaux, but I actually went to Paris almost every other weekend because I was visiting someone there. So I feel like I am quite well placed to judge the fashion in this particular one because I have actually been and almost basically lived in Paris. So am I an expert? You could say yes, you could also say no. And I might have a little special guest for the first one. Hello everyone, my name is Claudine Pusset. I am the cousin of someone you may know called Claudia, and I am from Paris, France. So Matt asked me to come for this specific runway for the Dawn, because Dawn was dressed as the Ratatouille, which as we know is a French classic of the Disney. And me being a cat talking about the mouse, you know what they say, when the mice are on the stage, the cat will talk about it in the video. I must say I absolutely adore this runway. It is very classic and chic, as you say. It is whimsical, but also done very well. So I personally would give it a yay. And in the Have Your Say poll, you voted 78.1% for the yay. Then it was 18.3% for the just okay. And then only a little petite percentage of you, 3.6%, voted for the nay. And I must now bid you au revoir and adieu until the next time. Okay, so next up we have Morphine Love Dion, and she's doing the Catacombs in Paris. I loved this look. I think it's really cool and very conceptual. The skulls, the prosthetic. I did actually see on Instagram, and I did mention this in my Patreon and YouTube member exclusive video from the Roscoes, that Q from season 16 made the outfit, not the prosthetic, but the outfit. So that's kind of cool that her season 16 sister did this. I loved this look though. The candelabra on her head and everything was just on point. Really cool. Definitely a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, 87.1% voted yay, so I think you liked this. 10.4 for just okay, and then 2.5 for nay. After that, we have Lucky Stars. I think it's a cool outfit. This is obviously inspired by French art, and she's like a living painting with all these different bits on her. I will say, I really liked the creativity. They did mention this at Roscoe's as well, but I did think that, for example, when she turned around and you could see the panty, it did look slightly unfinished. And also, my other thing is, this is quite a similar silhouette in a lot of ways to her design challenge that she did in effectively having this big sort of hoop thing around her waist, and like because it was like a donut, and then this time it's the artist palette. So it wasn't my favorite, but I do think the creativity is amazing, so I probably would give it a just okay. In the Have Your Say poll, you were obviously less harsh than me. Maybe I'm just nasty, probably. 67.2% for yay, 22.2% for just okay, and 10.6% for nay. After that, we had Mystique Summers, and she was doing Charlize Theron in the J'adore commercial. I can see the inspiration behind it. My thing with this dress is, and I think they've said this before with Mystique, but her dresses often have some sort of like the way that it hits her or the length that it is doesn't quite work. I think because she's got this, I guess, underskirt that you can see quite visibly, and then obviously the rest of it underneath is sheer. It just is like slightly odd. I think either she should have had it all the way down or it should have just been one color. But to me, the only thing I could focus on was there was this hard line in the skirt or dress, I guess. Other than that, I think it's actually quite nice, a little bit simple perhaps, but I think compared to the others, it was not as good. So I'd have to give it probably a just okay bordering into an A. In the Have Your Say poll, you were obviously more harsh than me. 70.4% for nay, so you did not like it. 26.7% for just okay, and then only 2.9% for yay. And after that, we had Akira C. Davenport doing Josephine Baker. I really loved this outfit. Obviously, Josephine Baker with the bananas, that's an iconic reference. I thought the way she did it was really cool. We've seen stuff a little bit like this on Drag Race before, but never anything quite this elaborate. The way it was done, the color, the pop of color was great. No one tell Nymphia Wynn that this exists because she'll be straight on that because of bananas, obviously. I loved this a lot. I thought it was really fun. Definitely a yay. In the Have Your Say poll, predictably, 70.8% of you voted for yay. I actually thought it'd be more than that. 25.8% for just okay, so over a quarter, which I was a little bit surprised at, and then 3.4% for nay. And finally, we have Morgan McMichaels, who was doing Joan of Arc. Now, we've had Joan of Arc style things before, obviously with the sword, but I really liked this interpretation. The fact that she had the spoons and the cutlery and all that kind of stuff actually on the dress. I do think maybe there was a little element of it, some of the placement of it, or I don't know, there was something about it that maybe could have been elevated a tiny bit, but I did like the outfit. The hair for me was the best bit though, because it was such a cool, unusual shape. The sword was great. I still would give it a yay, but it was maybe a softer yay than some of the others. In the Have Your Say poll, Morgan actually got more than A'keria did, which I'm not sure I agree with, but she got 71.3% for yay. I agree it was a yay, but I think A'keria's yay should have been more of a yay, if that makes sense. 26.5% for just okay, and then 2.2% for nay. So I asked you, whose Paris France runway gets the slay, as in the best one, and you voted 46.1% for Morphine Love Dion. Then between the others, it was actually pretty evenly split, but Dawn did come out second with 15.2, and then it was Lucky Stars with 13.6. I agree. I loved Morphine so much because it was such a departure from what she would normally do. So it was really surprising, but it was beautifully done, kind of spooky and weird, but really cool. I loved it. It looked like something from a movie, like, you know, like Beauty and the Beast brought to life, or something like a French version of Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast. There you go. So I definitely would give it to Morphine for the slay. So we find out that the top two for this week are Dawn and Morgan. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, do you agree with the top two? Interestingly, 57.2% said no, so the majority of you did not agree, and then 42.8% for yes. So of that majority that did say no, I said, who do you think should have been the top two? And you voted for A'keria and Morgan, so you'd have swapped out Dawn for A'keria. Now, I'm a bit surprised by this because in the Have Your Say poll for this Who Gets the Slay for the Home Spooky Network thing, you voted for Dawn, so I don't know why people are then not voting for her to be in the top two. Because if you think she was the best in the challenge, to me, that means that you should be in the top two because the challenge, I think, is worth a lot more than the runway, and her runway was also good. I do agree with Dawn being in the top. I did really like A'keria, though. I guess A'keria and Morgan maybe because they were pairs. Maybe it was fairer to put pairs together to be in the top two rather than taking people from different groups. So I can see that, but personally, I did think Dawn deserved it. So Dawn and Morgan then lip sync to the song Zombie Boy by Lady Gaga. And the winner is announced as Dawn, which means that she gets the extra point for winning the lip sync. In the Have Your Say poll, I asked, who do you think won the lip sync in your opinion? And you actually went against what happened in the episode because you said 63.3% for Morgan and then only 36.7% for Dawn. Okay, so because it actually gets very close with the points, it comes down to obviously the eliminated queens, so basically the bottom four who didn't go through, or maybe won't go through, as we'll find out. It comes down to who they give their MVQ point to see who actually will get the most points, because remember, only 2 queens go through to the semis. So we find out Dawn definitely goes through, but then it actually ends up being a tie between A'keria and Morgan. So RuPaul, and I feel like this was kind of predictable, RuPaul said that she would be making the final decision. So between Morgan and A'keria, RuPaul votes for A'keria to go through to the semis. So it's going to be Dawn and A'keria going through from bracket 1. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll, who would you give your MVQ point to? And it was actually interesting because 2 queens dominated this. So Morgan came out with 34.2% and A'keria came out with 33.9%. And then the others all had pretty small portions, but Dawn came out third with 13.6%. I don't want to sound like Natalie Imbruglia, but I am a bit torn, because I really like both Morgan and A'keria, and I think they both did equally well. I think Dawn definitely deserved to go through because she was in the top literally every week, deservedly so. I did think Morgan was going to go through more from the storyline of her kind of redemption from All Stars 3, but I guess A'keria on All Stars 6 left and didn't come back for the lip sync, so you could say that was also a redemption. I guess A'keria probably had the storyline of being the one who was helping the most queens, maybe, so I guess I agree with her going through. And finally, I asked you to vote out of 5 stars, 1 to 5, 1 being the least, 5 being the most, how much you enjoyed bracket 1. And the average rating was 3.73 stars. Now, if we look at the distribution of the votes, 4-star got the most with well over half. Then it was 3-star, then 5-star, then 2-star, and basically none for 1-star. I personally would agree. If I had to give it a star rating, I probably would give it a 4. I would give it a 3.5, but I never agree with half points. Don't ask me why, I just don't. So I think I'd give it a 4 because it was fine and it was interesting, but it just felt so short. And I don't think there was one particular moment that kind of grabbed me, but the overall level of drag was good. We also find out that it's not over for the 4 kind of eliminated queens, because as happened last year, there is going to be a thing where the main judges get to pick a wild card from the eliminated queens from all of the brackets to come through back to the semis. So I mentioned last week my special poll, and I know you all want to get your hands on my big special poll, but I asked my patrons and my YouTube members who would they want as their wild card, and my Patreons voted 91% for Morgan McMichaels and then only 9% for Morphine. And my YouTube members followed suit, although not quite as extreme, but still extreme. Morgan McMichaels got 86% and then Morphine got 14%. And I would agree. I definitely think if there's going to be a wild card, it has to be Morgan, given that I think she was probably 3rd in the ranking, with obviously A'keria and Dawn being 1 and 2, not necessarily in that order, but Morgan would have been the 3rd. So I think it definitely has to go to Morgan as the wild card. And if you want to get your hands around my special poll, on my special poll to vote, obviously, then you can become a Patreon member or a YouTube member, and you get loads of amazing benefits like early access, exclusive content that I don't post on YouTube, etc., etc. And there'll be links to both of those in the description. Okay, so let's move on to the comments for this week. There were a lot of comments this week, so I'm gonna have to try and get through them a bit quick. So to start my Patreon comments, the first kind of theme of these is about Morgan and A'keria particularly having this friendship and dominating the bracket. So my Patreon Nikki Ray said, Morgan and A'keria giving each other points regardless of the ranking was so sisterly. I agree. My Patreon Max was saying, I didn't go into this bracket expecting it to be so strong, but I was pleasantly surprised, and talked about Dawn and A'keria being overshadowed perhaps by bigger personalities on their original season, so it's nice to see them shine now, which I agree with. And my Patreon Oxymoron kind of picked up on, I think, what a lot of us picked up on, that it felt like there was a little bit of riggery involved in making sure that the points were in such a way that there was going to be a tie between Morgan and A'keria, because otherwise it would be really boring if 2 queens just got all the votes and then it was obvious who was going to win. So yeah, I did think like, that's very interesting that RuPaul said that she would cast the deciding vote in the event of a tie, and then there just so happened to be a tie. But let me know what you think, whether that's a conspiracy theory or not. There were also a lot of comments about Dawn, and for example, my Patreon Sue said, I love that Dawn is moving on. She's so sweet, classy, and sassy. Again, my nickname in prison.
Because you're a slut.
And my Patreon Debs actually did say this and said, Morgan is my pick for the returning queen. She really impressed me. I agree. I really liked Morgan in this bracket. I think she came across really well, and it was a great redemption from All Stars 3. Okay, moving on to my YouTube members. So my YouTube member Laura said, agree with cringe episode, not my favorite. This is because I think in the actual comments on the YouTube post, which is where I post the link to vote in the poll, I don't usually use those comments unless you're a YouTube member. That I only use the votes that are in the actual Google form that's listed. But a lot of people were saying they felt this episode was cringe. And I think Dawn mentioned this at Roscoe's as well, that a lot of people felt this episode was cringe. I guess the actual challenge was a little bit weird. I don't know if I would say it was cringe. The only cringe thing to me was Lucky and Mystique's scene, because it was just a little bit weird. But other than that, I'm not sure I'd say it was cringe. I just think they could have done the challenge a bit better. I think it should have been more improv rather than scripted. But on a similar topic, a lot of the people in the Have Your Say Google form comments, someone said, for example, what the F was that challenge? Yikes. So a lot of people obviously didn't like the challenge. Someone else was kind of going on what I said earlier, was saying, I was really hoping for a Morgan A'keria top 2 to move on. I felt bad for Morgan because she really deserved to move on. And then again, someone said, Morgan should be a shoo-in for that wild card spot, right? She deserves it. And I think that was quite a big topic, and I can't see that it's going to be anyone else from that bracket, to be honest. So I think Morgan will go through. But let me know in the comments what you think about bracket 1 overall. Did you enjoy it? And also, how does it live up to bracket 1 from the last All-Stars? Okay, so we're now going to move on to some recent drama to do with Tina Burner calling out Mistress Isabelle Brooke. As we know, Tina and Mistress were both on the same bracket of All Stars 10 together, and they have a long-standing beef, which started before All Stars 10 had even aired. As they mentioned on All Stars 10, Mistress had made a meme out of a picture of Tina in a rainbow wig and was making fun of her, and Tina wasn't happy about it at the time, and they argued about it on All Stars 10 when Mistress brought it up. During that argument, Tina said Mistress slid into her DMs, but Mistress said that wasn't true and she wanted to see the receipts. So after the episode aired, Tina actually posted screenshots of her DMs showing that Mistress had DM'd her twice in April 2024 saying, LMAO, I love you, and the eyes emoji. Tina tweeted these screenshots and said, show me the receipts, she slid into my DMs, and she tagged Mistress. Mistress then retweeted this and said, the way I sent the eyes, because I heard she was going to be on All Stars 10, LMAO, I told y'all I am the TMZ of drag. There was also a moment on All Stars 10 when Mistress said Tina had said something behind the other queens' backs, but Tina said that Mistress was lying. Then, in episode 5, there was the infamous moment Mistress and Georges tricked Kerry Colby and Nicole Paige Brooks into giving them their NVQ points, but didn't give them back in return. So there was clearly some bad blood between Mistress and the other queens, including Tina. Tina, Kerry and Nicole were all eliminated, whereas Mistress moved on to the semi-finals. After the episode aired, Tina, Kerry and Nicole did joint interviews where they spoke about how they felt Mistress had played the game, and they said they hoped Mistress did not win All Stars 10, and they hoped that she would get, quote, humiliated because she deserved it. So that's just the background of why Tina and Mistress have an ongoing feud. Well, very recently, Tina did an interview with Chisme Uncut, where she called out Mistress and revealed even more things about what happened off camera on All Stars 10. Tina was asked if she had any stories about Mistress being a nightmare on set.
Mistress was so a f***ing nightmare off set.
Tina started by talking about her design challenge win on All Stars 10 and what Mistress's reaction to that was.
When I won the design challenge, Mistress was so turned by it. She was so mad about it. Mind you, you didn't see me cutting out Mistress's dress for her. But Mistress, when we got out of that, we got into the van and she lost her shit. She was in the van like screaming. She was like, if I f***ing get in the top of the next one, I am not going to lip sync. I'm not going to do anything because this place is f***ing bull. And she like went off. Cut to, she was in the top of the next challenge and acted like nothing happened. She's just all talk. She's a lot of bullshit.
Tina also said she had heard rumours about stuff that went down after the merge, as in the semi-finals, and there may potentially be a backstage reason as to why Mistress got eliminated before the finale.
And she was so worse off. And if you talk to the other girls that stayed there, there's so many rumors about what actually went down after the merge happened and why she was sent home. But I don't need to talk about that because it's not my story to tell. But I will say she was just nightmare.
Tina also addressed whether she will ever reconcile with Mistress.
Do you see any reconciliation in the future?
It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
I don't respect her.
Really?
Yeah, and if I don't respect you, I don't need to associate myself.
Tina finished by saying that Mistress could change and that some of that behavior comes with age because Tina admits that she was a, quote, monster when she was in her 20s and she didn't get her life together until her 30s, so she can't fully blame Mistress, but she said Mistress was still a nightmare on set. And I'll link to the full clip from Chisme Uncut's TikTok in the description if you want to watch the full thing. This interview clip of Tina then went viral on social media, and not long after, Mistress posted 2 tweets that seemed to be in reference to Tina. These tweets seem to have since been deleted, but there were screenshots posted on the RPDR drama subreddit, which is where I got them from. The first tweet from Mistress said, "There's a certain All Stars 10 brick who keeps taking shots at me in every interview they do. I'm glad I've given your career a revival, but consider this your warning shot before I give my reply. Some of us know the real reason that PV residency was chopped. Tread lightly." I looked into this, and in terms of the PV residency part, I think this refers to Tina's long-running residency at the Palm Cabaret in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, where she's been performing for several years. From what I can find, Tina's most recent show there is called Boob Tube, and according to the official venue website, the Boob Tube show is at the sister venue Coco Cabaret, and it ran throughout April 2026, with the last one listed on the 29th of April. So I'm not sure what Mistress meant when she said that the residency had been, quote, chopped, because I couldn't find anything about that, but there may be more to the story and I may have just missed something, but for now that's all I could find. Mistress also posted another follow-up tweet which has since been deleted, which said, Anyway, I'm actively working on being a better person by trying to learn to let go of things instead of feeling like I have to always get even with someone. That person knows who they are, and they know that I have been very kind as to not open my mouth about their personal business. I would like the same respect. Talk about things that happen on TV, but don't get in the way of my public perception as far as it comes to my professionalism and work. I don't play about my money. As I said earlier, both of these tweets were then deleted by Mistress fairly quickly, but the screenshots are still circulating online. And as far as I'm aware, as of time of recording this video, Tina has not directly responded to Mistress's now deleted tweets, so we'll have to wait and see if any further information comes out about this in the future. And finally, we're going to talk about a little bit of drama to do with Onya Nurve breaking her silence about dropping out of Kinky Boots. Just as some background information, back in July 2025, it was announced that season 17 winner Onya Nurve would be playing Lola in the North American tour of Kinky Boots, which was a big deal because this was a major Broadway production. But then, in November 2025, the production confirmed Onya was no longer with the company and that her understudy would be taking the role. No reason was given at the time, which led to a lot of speculation from the fandom. Onya did do a short interview with Pride in February, where she said that she walked away from the role due to, quote, artistic misalignment, and that she still hoped to play Lola one day if the show ever went back to Broadway. But that was all she said publicly, and she didn't go into any specifics about what actually happened, so fans were left guessing. At the time, because Onya had previously made some comments about how you shouldn't take opportunities unless they pay.
Here's my thing, children. If it don't make money, sometimes it don't make sense. And you ain't about to be up sitting and twirling for 20 people for $50 7 days a week, because you know what? That ain't gonna make you shit. So if you ain't trying to get on Drag Race and make thousands of dollars like we making, hang it up, Pookie.
She was accused of discrediting local artists and that she had become big-headed since winning Drag Race. And Onya later received criticism because of this on social media, so she clarified what she meant by it. So, when it was announced that she was no longer in Kinky Boots, some people felt like Onya was probably being a diva or that it was somehow her fault. Well, this week, Onya finally opened up about the full story. She appeared on the High Key podcast with Evie Oddly and Ryan Mitchell and went into detail about what happened with Kinky Boots. Onya started by saying that Kinky Boots was the biggest wrench in her reign and that she'd taken time before talking about it because she needed to wrap her head around the fact that she wasn't going to be doing it anymore.
And the only issue was, once we got closer to Tech Week, because I'm playing a drag queen and a man, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, now, who in this building is going to be helping me with makeup? Because I know y'all don't think I'm doing it myself, do y'all? Because I got to go from man to woman, woman to man, back to woman.
She asked a lot of people for advice, including Bob the Drag Queen, Jinx Monsoon, and Jamal Sims, and she got mixed responses. Jamal even told her not to take the role.
It being a non-equity tour, these are where the budgets of things fall off. But this wasn't discussed upon me accepting this role, which I didn't even know this was something that I needed to ask before doing the role, since this was my first time doing something like this. What I think they really tried to capitalize on the fact that I was a drag queen. They probably thought that I would be more than happy. They were paying me $2,000 a week. You think I was doing this because of the money?
Onya also said she felt like she was not being listened to and the production was trying to, quote, little girl her. And then just 5 days before opening night, they pulled her into the office and told her they were moving on without her. Onya also said she was nervous how she'd be perceived after announcing she was no longer going to be in the show, and she was worried that she was going to be labelled as a difficult queen. So everyone advised her to stay quiet and not say anything, even though she said she really wanted to talk crap about production. And since this podcast came out, a lot of people have sympathized with Onya and said they can understand why she decided not to do it, and it also somewhat ended the speculation that it was somehow her fault. I'll also link to the full podcast episode in the description if you want to watch the full thing, because it was really interesting. But as I always say, please do not send hate to any of the people involved. These videos are just intended to keep you up to date with what's happening in the world of Drag Race, so please consume this type of content responsibly. So there you go, there was the Have Your Say for RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 11 episode 3. Let me know what you thought of All Stars 11 so far, and what are your hopes for the other 2 brackets? If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as extra content that's not on YouTube and also having your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos, please consider checking out either my Patreon, which is my main platform, or if you want a more convenient option, you can also join as a YouTube member. There is a join button under every video, and you get amazing benefits and it does support the channel, so please consider it. And there'll be links to that in the description. I'd also like to say thank you so much to my amazing Patreon members. You are the lifeblood of this channel. You are the mother, the father, you are everything in between. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Thank you so much for your incredible support. Please make sure you like and comment on these videos to help boost them in the algorithm and promote them to more people. And please make sure you smash that subscribe button because you'll get notified when I post more videos, and it does really help the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye.